Hey everyone, before today's video, I wanted to give two quick updates related to this whole coronavirus situation that I'm sure all of you are very familiar with by now. First, these next few months are going to be hard on all of us, but they'll be especially hard on artists, independent creators, and local businesses. So if you're able to, I highly recommend spending a bit of money, whether it's buying someone's album, ordering out from a local restaurant, or donating to a creator's Patreon. For those of you who might be curious, I am fine. I don't need anything at this point, but if there is someone out there who makes stuff you enjoy, who has a way to support them, and who could use the money, consider helping them. Second, I just hope you're all okay. This has been a rough couple of weeks, and all signs point to it continuing to be rough for more weeks, if not months, so I hope you find ways to decompress and take care of your mental health. In my case, I'll be unwinding by selling my soul to this raccoon bastard, and relishing in the fact that I can finally cross these damn rivers without having to run to a bridge every time. These videos I make are not the most important thing going on right now, but I hope that they allow you to tune out the rest of the world for a few minutes and enjoy some lighthearted discussions on music. Though in a cruel twist, today's video actually does touch on more adult-oriented topics, so viewer discretion advised and all that jazz. With that out of the way, enjoy. Man, Botticelli's Birth of Venus looks way different than I remember. How did he know what Twitter was? But looking at it does give me an idea. Today, let's remember ARTPOP.
I'm not a wandering slave, I am a woman of choice. I'm your biggest fan, I'll follow you until you love me, Papa.
The late 2000s and early 2010s, for all intents and purposes, belonged to Lady Gaga. She rocketed onto the pop scene with songs like Just Dance, Bad Romance, Telephone, Alejandro. The quality pop songwriting, along with her unique style shown in her music videos and public appearances, proved her singular control over pop culture. In 2011, she released Born This Way, which tied the same pop songwriting with a more anthemic aesthetic. The lead single is a great example of this, a song that celebrated people from all different walks of life, especially the LGBTQ community. The album went on to debut at #1 on the Billboard Top 200 with over 1 million copies sold in its first week. Even if those numbers may have been bolstered by it being sold for 99 cents on Amazon, there was no denying Gaga's stranglehold on pop music at that point. Born This Way was accompanied by a massive tour, during which Gaga began work on her third album. Unfortunately, the tour ended abruptly in February 2013 when Gaga needed surgery after a hip injury. Over the next 6 months, Gaga spent the time to heal, but also to flesh out this new album's concept and music with her team, the House of Gaga. By the way, did you know she had like a set creative team with a name and everything? Why don't I have that? In July 2013, Gaga announced that the album, ARTPOP, would be released 4 months later on November 11th, 2013. And oh, what a 4 months they would be!
I wanted to welcome you to the ArtRave. You can share.
2013 was a year filled with massive, months-long album rollouts, and Gaga's rollout for ARTPOP might have been the biggest, most extra of them all. Let's start with the intent. Gaga said in an interview,
So the intention of the album was to put art culture into pop music, a reverse of Warhol. Instead of putting pop onto the canvas, we wanted to put the art onto the soup can. If we can belong together, you and I, or me and my fans, if we can belong together in this room and create love, maybe then our dreams of these two things, art and pop belonging together, maybe that can come true.
So what Gaga and her house were planning was to merge the worlds of high art and pop music.
Pop culture was in art, now art and pop culture in me.
Certainly lofty, but other artists had been doing similar work within the two spaces with varying degrees of success. And if there's any artist that could really pull something like this off, it's Lady McFrickin' Gaga. Now let's check out what they do. The album cover. The artwork for the cover was designed by famed artist Jeff Koons. It showcases a nude sculpture of Gaga with a gazing ball between her legs. In the background were chopped up pieces of both Botticelli's Birth of Venus and Gian Lorenzo Bernini's Apollo and Daphne. Each aspect was, according to Koons, meant to communicate some feeling of transcendence, whether it be musical or communal. The app. In tandem with the album, it was announced that a companion app would be released, made by the same team that made the app for Björk's Biophilia. The app allowed people to make collage art, interact with other fans, watch music videos, and of course, buy and listen to the album. Unfortunately, it seems to have been taken down from both the iTunes and Android stores. The closest I can get to trying it is videos on YouTube.
I am the interface of this application. This is an aura. This is your aura.
Oh, I was wondering where that went.
An aura is a unique representation of your existence in the ARTPOP universe. It will
Hey,
grow
Aura, stop that!
and
What did we say about sucking the life force out of strange interdimensional beings? We don't do that anymore. Overall, it doesn't seem like I'm missing much. Reviews of it at the time said it was a fun diversion, but nothing really revolutionary. ArtRave. Along with a tour in support of the album, Gaga announced an event to be held just before the album's release at Brooklyn Navy Yard called ArtRave. On the program was a performance by Gaga, of course, but there was so much more. Contortionists, DJ sets, appearances by art titans like Marina Abramovic, Robert Wilson, Jeff Koons showcasing a full-sized sculpture of the album cover. Perhaps the biggest component, aside from the music, was a press conference in which Gaga said she would be performing in space and debuted the world's first flying dress, the Tech House Volantis. How was it? Well, in the words of Pitchfork's Amy Phillips, it roared to life and lurched forward a few feet, hovering. Then it did the same thing backwards. Then it stopped. That was it. Taken all together, the whole rollout gives off this delirious energy, as if everything they did came from a Mad Libs generator. Don't believe me? Let's try it for ourselves. In the lead up to this album, Lady Gaga performed at a Doritos party at South by Southwest. The show involved a mechanical bull and a model who would drink a mysterious green liquid and puke on Gaga. Like, even that sounds like so outlandish that it couldn't actually... Wait, why is that timer counting down? What? No. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want commentary on this? What could I add? This is this. This is exactly what this looks like. My point with all this is that looking back, all this promotion and these stunts must have been so tiring to follow along with. And that's before you get to the fact that this is supposed to be promoting an album with songs on it. And it's before you get to the fact that the album is actually pretty good. I thought this was gonna be another Black Eyed Peas situation where I'd riff on a mediocre pop album from the early 2010s, but ultimately find something to appreciate. But to my surprise, I enjoyed this one a fair bit. So let's pull up the album on Spotify and check it out for... Sorry, I thought something was off. Anyway, the most striking difference between ARTPOP and its predecessors is its massive EDM influence, which of course in 2013 was still booming. The producing personnel includes pop mainstays such as will.i.am, Rick Rubin, and frequent collaborator DJ White Shadow, but there's also Zedd, Madeon, Infected Mushroom, DJ Snake, and David Guetta. Even though the album takes heavily from the sound of the time, Zedd said that wasn't the outright goal. Quote, "Whatever is dope is dope. We do whatever we want, and we don't have to make a song that's 3 minutes and 30 seconds just to fit the radio. We didn't try to make an EDM album, but at the same time, we didn't try not to make an EDM album." His main contribution was the opener Aura, and I must say, I kinda miss this version of Zedd. This isn't the ticking clock, vocoder right before the first chorus Zedd we know today, but the raucous Zedd, who made Clarity and Spectrum, the kind of Zedd who uses 8 different synth presets in the span of 2 measures. The album continues with Venus referencing both the planet and the Roman goddess and featuring some really tasty vocal harmonies. Gender roles get explored in Guy, which stands for Girl Under You. I don't get it. Sex Dreams throws in some funk influence. Jewels and Drugs... just keep walking. And Manicure depicts self-care in the fallout of a relationship. Wait a sec. Manicure? Oh! The title track revolves around a chorus of we could belong together. While on the surface, this could be taken to reflect the way art and pop could be together, apparently the song is also about Gaga and her fan base belonging together. We come now to the halfway point with Swine and... Sorry, there's a song missing, right? Like, am I going crazy or something? forget it. Swine marks a turning point in mood where the lyrical matter starts to become a bit darker. It's one of the more garish tracks on here production-wise, with the lyrics calling out those who manipulate and pervert others. Donatella and Fashion take pride in looking and feeling your best, even though the lyrics could be read as somewhat satirical.
I'm blonde, I'm skinny, I'm rich, and I'm a little bit of a bitch.
This is something I can relate to. Mary Jane Holland and Dope focus on drug use. Mary Jane portrays Gaga after she's taken some drug, but it's never explicitly stated. I mean, what drug could it be? And Dope is a ballad about being dependent on someone like a drug. The lyricism on this track, as well as the other tracks so far, is fine, but they're definitely well-worn topics. In fact, that might be my biggest gripe with the album. The intent was to make something transcendent, something that would bridge art and pop, audience and performer, but really it ends up feeling messy. There are instances on this album where I can't tell for sure if Gaga is being sincere or satirical or some combo of the two. Plus, the production and songwriting often can't tell if they want to expand beyond or stay within typical pop song formats. So the result is a sound that embodies what pop was at the time, but doesn't have many hooks or standout moments, at least when compared to Gaga's earlier work. At the end of the day, it's just an early 2010s pop album. A solid one, no doubt, much better than I thought it was gonna be, but still just that. Maybe hindsight is impacting my view, but in reviews that I've read from the album's release, a lot of people felt the same way. I will say though, the track that follows Dope is quite good. Gypsy is an ode to the touring life, the glory of performing to massive crowds, so in tandem, it's the closest thing to an outright EDM banger on here, except maybe Aura. And I gotta admit, for me, it works like gangbusters. This kind of pure and simple bombast, accompanied by the lyrical focus, leads to one potent track. It's a triumphant portrayal of the life she leads, even considering all of the hardships and pain she's described thus far, and it's a really affecting way to close out the album. Wait, what? What do you mean this isn't the closing track? Then what is? Applause? Lead single Applause closes out the album. Okay, I guess. Applause isn't a bad song by any means, and it is essentially the thesis statement of the record. It's just that after Gypsy, it's a deflation. No, actually, it's a retreat. The back half of the record was going into more interesting areas, and with Applause closing, it just feels like Gaga was saying, nah, JK about all that stuff, look at me! Maybe I'm reading this in a different way than what Gaga and co intended, but that's just how I feel about it. And that does it for the album. But I could have sworn that there was another song on here. One of the singles, in fact. You know what? I'm sorry. Let me do some research real quick.
Some of us just like to read.
Oh, that makes sense. There was another song on here, but it got removed from streaming services in early 2019. But I was able to use my wits, and I found a CD version of this at my local library. Support your local library. So let's take a look at this fabled missing track, Do What You Want. Do What You Want occupies an interesting place in Gaga's body of work. On the one hand, it's one of her best songs, with one giant asterisk that we will get to. The production is killer, Gaga sounds great, and the lyrical matter and delivery shows this album at its most satirical and biting. Gaga going in on writers who ignore her work and just focus on her body or her sex appeal. For the first verse and chorus, it's a great song. And then the guest artist comes in. Yep, the featured guest is R. Kelly, the R&B singer behind tracks like Ignition Remix and I Believe I Can Fly. He is also a convicted sexual predator. He is in jail right now for one case, he has several other charges coming his way, and he has a dubious history dating all the way back to the 90s when he, a grown man, married Aaliyah, a teenager. Is he good on the track? Sure. He's also a convicted sexual predator. Having a guy like this guest on your track is one thing, but keep in mind, the chorus to this song is "Do What You Want With My Body." Pairing a noted abuser with lyrics where he literally says, do what I want with your body. Yikes. As I mentioned before, the song was removed from streaming platforms in January 2019 after that Lifetime documentary came out, and all CDs and vinyls of the record going forward wouldn't have the song. Gaga justified removing the song off streaming services by saying that she was in a troubled place when she made the song, and they weren't thinking about the consequences of bringing him on at the time. So yeah, that's Do What You Want. You can still find the song online. It's not like it's hard to find. There's also a version with Christina Aguilera on streaming services. That one's pretty good too. So that is, in all its entirety, art pop. More like art flop, am I right? I'm sorry. It was right there. It was right there. Terrible pun aside, there is a prevailing thought that this album was a flop. Was it? No. But also yes. But like not really. And also kind of. The record sold 258,000 copies in its first week and went on to become the highest-selling album of 2013 with 2.3 million copies sold. Keep in mind, this thing came out in mid-November, and that's a remarkable feat for any artist. But Born This Way sold over 1 million just in its first week, so art pop sales were still a letdown. And if there's one word that shouldn't have been associated with Gaga at that time, an artist who had become an international star for breaking rules and shattering records, it's letdown. Plus, let's remember where music was in 2013. Art pop was one of many albums that were being rolled out with huge promotions, but we were also seeing artists like Lorde, Migos, Macklemore, and others who were breaking out without these gaudy rollouts. Let's also remember about a month after art pop's release, Beyonce's self-titled would effectively change how big albums were released. So was it a flop? No. But was it a flop for Gaga? Arguably, yes. So with an underwhelming record like this, relatively speaking, it's easy to think that Gaga's imperial phase had come to an end and that her time as a world-conquering pop star was over. And again, no. But also, yes. Gaga's next release was the ultimate 180-degree turn, a duets album with Tony Bennett. Now, at first, I thought this was an attempt at course correction after art pop, but it turns out this record was in development months before art pop even came out. I was also surprised to find that the duets album was born from a similar place as art pop, an attempt to break from the conventions of radio. She started getting into acting more, first with American Horror Story, and then eventually with her award-winning turn as the lady in A Star Is Born. On the music end of things, she released another duets album with Tony Bennett. She played the Super Bowl with no cuts from art pop, mind you. She headlined Coachella when Beyonce had to drop out, a few one-off singles here and there. Her most recent full-length album was Joanne, which is fine. It's a back-to-basics record with more of an influence towards southern rock and country. Its lead single was Perfect Illusion, which has production credits from Blood Pop, Mark Ronson, and Kevin Parker from Tame Impala. There was really only one thing holding the song Perfect Illusion back from being a huge hit, and that's the fact that it's the song Perfect Illusion. So taken all together, Gaga is not the same kind of pop star she was in 2013, but I think that's just because she's found ways to adapt in a time when pop stars don't really exist like that anymore. It makes me think we might not see that art pop-esque side of her again. Is what I would be saying if I released this video about a month ago, but
I want your stupid love, love.
in late February of this year, Gaga released Stupid Love and announced a new album called Chromatica, which will be out in April. The song is by all accounts more in line with what she was making in the early 2010s, and I dig it. It's the return of Gaga's signature bombast, and I even hear a dash of Carly Rae Jepsen and even Muna in it. The biggest compliment I can give Stupid Love is that it sounds joyful, which is, I think, the biggest difference from anything on art pop. Looking at what built up to art pop, it seems like it was born from great pain, both emotionally and physically. But like many other albums that serve as emotional exoduses, art pop is flawed but fascinating. Gaga creating a euphoric monument to commemorate the joy and pain of becoming a massive pop icon. I'd argue this is the most fascinating record in Gaga's whole discography, and even with my quibbles about it, I recommend you check it out. And looking at the interviews she's given in the lead up to Chromatica, I think she's attempting with this album to do what she was trying to do on art pop by focusing on love and inclusivity instead of pain and cynicism. It's like she said on art pop all those years ago.